In the 1960s, she organized in the fields and spearheaded a national boycott of grapes and later lettuce. She co-founded with Cesar Chavez the United Farm Workers Union, making decent pay and working conditions a reality for thousands of farm workers. Yesterday, she stood along with a jurist, an astronaut, a musician, a writer, and others at a White House ceremony. President Obama put the Medal of Freedom around her neck, the nation's top civilian honor, and paid her this tribute.
Without any negotiating experience, Dolores helped lead a worldwide grape boycott that forced growers to agree to some of the country's first farm worker contracts. And ever since, she has fought to give more people a seat at the table. Don't wait to be invited, she says. Step in there. And on a personal note, Dolores was very gracious when I told her I had stolen her slogan, "Si se puede," yes, we can. Knowing her, I'm pleased that she let me off easy, because Dolores does not play.
You're someone who spent a big chunk of your life fighting, pushing back, in constant debate with the establishment. Does it take a little getting used to get your country's highest honor?
Oh, well, it's such a thrill and such an honor. And at the same time, it's a humbling experience because it's on the backs of so many other people that were out there trying to get justice for farm workers, people that went to jail, people that were marching, people who died, just trying to get the things that other people take for granted. So I feel that I get this honor on their backs, basically, because of all the things that they did, to be able to just make life a little bit better for the people that feed us.
You were a school teacher. How did you make the move to go to work for the people who give us our food, who get us our food?
Well, I got involved into community organizing and actually doing voter registration, going door to door. Came to the homes of some of these farm workers and saw that they didn't even have any kind of wood or linoleum on their floors. Their furniture was orange crates, and their children were barefooted. And I thought, this is wrong, because these people are working very, very hard out there, picking our food every day, and yet they can't even afford to, live decently.
It was 1960 when you co-founded the Agricultural Workers Association. You were already working in poor communities for years. Was it still unusual for a woman to do this kind of work? Was there resistance to you doing it?
Initially, a little, but actually what I found out is that when people know that you're trying to help them and that you're sincere about it, that they respond. So I didn't get as much pushback as I thought. Actually, people were very responsive, and I was very fortunate. I learned my organizing method from a gentleman named Fred Ross Sr. He's also the one that taught Caesar how to organize. And we organized through a grassroots model where we meet in people's homes. And by the way, I'm still doing that same thing today with my foundation, the Dolores Huerta Foundation for Community Organizing.
You were doing things that women had never done before, negotiating contracts with the growers during the earliest days of the United Farm Workers. Were they ready to do business with a woman?
I think we kind of caught them off guard. They really didn't know how to respond because they, couldn't do the usual, forceful type of thing. And when you would bring up to them and show them the conditions that the workers were working under, and they were kind of embarrassed, actually. I think it was a big advantage to be a woman, to be able to do those negotiations. It made them feel guilty.
Cesar Chavez and yourself and the United Farm Workers is a legendary story, but in many ways it was he who became the face of the movement and not you. Was that part of the plan?
Actually, it was. Right at the beginning, Cesar, and he said, "Is this going to be all right with you?" And I said, "Fine." I mean, because actually, when does this work? You're not out there to get any kind of fame or fortune. You basically want to help people better their lives. Now, as a born-again feminist, I could call myself, that I realized at some point that many of us in the civil rights movement were out there fighting for our people, but we were not fighting for our women. And so at some point I said, look, we've got to get more women to be involved, more women on our executive board, more women on our ranch committees. And Cesar and I actually discussed this, and he was okay with that. And he then started appointing more women to be field directors and other women to be negotiators. But he was sensitive to the fact that we needed women to be the decision makers also.